And joining us now to discuss the COVID impact on sport is Sue Whatman from the Australian Council for Health, Physical Education and Recreation. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. How's your day been?
You advocate for sports and development officers, coaches and HPE teachers. The last few months must have just been a whirlwind for you.
They have. Look, one of the things that that ACHPER does is it provides a lot of professional learning opportunities for people in all of those roles, and they make up the membership of ACHPER. So when schools were told, take your classes home, sporting clubs have said, all right, you've got to stop doing what you're doing, you're not running sport and community sport. What we found was that the members were coming to all of our branches saying, what can I do remotely now? What can I do to keep my team together now? What can I do to take PE into the backyard and support people with learning health and physical education from a desk or from their hallway? And we saw lots and lots of clips being sent around on social media of how inventive people got with doing HPE at home. That was a really big trending hashtag. So what our branches found, and I have to thank our Vice President, Glenn Amidro, for this, he did a nationwide survey of all of our branches and members around, well, what's happened with the demand for what you provide to your members during COVID-19, and actually found that the demand went up in most cases, and that also it was for new things. So what it meant was that the branches had to start thinking really differently around how can we help teachers now deliver, and how can we help sport ed and coaches think about their practice when they're not coming into a physical venue and having 20 bodies in front of them anymore.
Okay, and explain how you've had to adapt, I guess, like a lot of other businesses in this period.
I think the biggest thing is to, and I think now it's almost everyone needs to be have a multimedia degree. Like you've really got to know how to put together packages that can be sent out, that can be sent out on email, that can be sent out on social media, that can be downloaded easily off a website. And that's probably identifying the biggest, and I would say that is in all kinds of organisations, identifying now that the people you have in place have the knowledge and skills for delivering this support to members face to face, and they've had to really quickly get their head around how do we keep sharing our knowledge and skills, but doing it just like we're doing, talking through cameras, talking through pre-recorded materials. And another way has been to be a real clearinghouse, trying to sort through all of the amazing plethora of ideas circulating around and say, yes, that's good for HPE. Oh, no, that's not, so that kind of critique of resources that are freely available as well.
And HPE will come into sharper focus as we come out of lockdown. How will things change?
I think, well, they already have. So, for example, I'm in Queensland, so we've had students back at school since July. And what it's meant is that of all the things that you could be choosing to teach to your students, HPE teachers are now looking at the curriculum going, can I do this safely spread out with people not sharing lots of equipment? Can I, do I have to put this one aside? And so what it's meant is that lots of schools might say, yes, in term 3, we always do, and it might be a series of ball games, or it might be a series of sports that fit into the sport calendar for that time of the year. And they've had to go, no, can't do that. So they're now looking at lots more. So I think there's a lot more creative and on a wider offering, I suppose, in schools too. A lot more schools are getting back into dance, they're getting back into expressive movement, because these are things that they can do without sharing equipment and without breaching social distancing.
It's been a long time since I was in primary school, and did remember the sit and reach test and the 1.6K run. They really stand out. But how would you describe the curriculum now, and what would teachers like to see changed or added, I guess, beyond the obvious COVID tweaks?
Well, interestingly enough, the Australian curriculum's being reviewed right now. So ACHPER is providing feedback from all of our members into that. I think that health and physical education and sport education, and the way they articulate into external competition and also into representative sport. Like, that's a real driver for the sorts of things that schools teach. So not being able to play the sports that would lead onto the normal representative carnivals and selection in higher teams, that's been quite actually a devastating thing for students, especially the ones that are, say, at the threshold of leaving primary school, going to high school, and the ones who are maybe in their last year of high school. Their participation in those kind of talent pathways has been cut short, and that's that impact's been felt right across the sporting community. But having said that, it does also offer an opportunity to say that health and physical education isn't just the sit and reach test or the mile. It's fitness testing has got to really have it's got to have an educative purpose if you're going to use it in schools. It's we're not boot camps for children. So the focus on the learning, like what are you learning, why are you learning it, and how could the really broad range of physical opportunities, physical sports, international games, all sorts of things, Indigenous games, these are the things that I guess have their crack of opportunity to get into what might otherwise have been a really traditional sports-based curriculum. So I think it's a great opportunity to embrace it, and that's certainly the message that we've been putting out through all of our branches.
Now, my wife, who grew up in Croatia, was telling me that her PE teacher used to live next to the school, and he used to take them to his place, and he had this apple tree, and they'd go and pick up the rotten apples and throw it at a target. Do you think something like that could be added to the curriculum?
Oh, look, we have this wonderful resource already that you can find on the Sport Australia website called Yulunga, which is Indigenous games from around Australia, and hundreds of games. And it's exactly that sort of thing. It's people growing up, figuring out how to apply and refine movement to solve a problem. So whether that's pegging an apple at a target, whether that's keeping the ball in the air for as long as possible, or hitting moving targets, all of these games you can see have got the same kind of learning, acquiring and refining fundamental movement that we might otherwise only teach through softball or through hockey. So it is a great opportunity. The one thing about COVID-19 that you'd hear from everybody is that it's actually forced people to stop going with what they've always done with before. And that's probably where the real load is too, with all sporting organisations and advocacy organisations like ours, is to think, how can we now help you with this? Because we have been helping you with the way you used to do things, and maybe some of that will come back, but perhaps a lot of it won't. So now we've got to move and keep developing and innovating in a way to support you with, well, what does health and physical education and what does community sport practice look like in this post-COVID-19 world?
And you can see how some of those activities, pegging apples at targets, would be so fun for kids. So perhaps you was onto something. But how can people get in touch with you and find out more?
Well, one thing we hope that people, and particularly schools, will get on board with shortly is we have National HPE Day coming up on the 2nd of September. So schools can register for that through our website. And the website is www.ACHPER, so it's ACHPER.org.au. So you can go on there and have a look for the link to National HPE Day. Actually, you can just also Google National HPE Day and you'll find the link to that as well through Google. Sign up your school. We'd love to hear from you. And what we're going to do is, in the lead up to it, is share some of the things that people sent in to us from last year, and then also we'll be sharing the sorts of things that schools have been doing this year. And I expect what we'll see is quite a lot of really different forms of practice that that is going to blow people's minds. People get really creative when they're forced to.
Yeah, spot on. Look forward to it, Sue. It's been a pleasure chatting, and good luck.